Mr. Ballav Mundra. He is the CFO of Hexagon. A round of applause to the CFO of Hexagon since 2010. Prior to this, he was working with IBM, Tata Motors, and has 24 plus years of expertise spanning controllership, finance, operations, M&A, MIS, across IT product, IT services and manufacturing companies. He is proficient in developing internal control systems for improved organizational functioning and has qualitative experience and professional approach in managing people, training, project transitions and business transformation. He is also a chartered accountant and an alumni of IIM Bangalore. Okay, so a round of applause, sir. Thank you for being here. Please do have a seat. We also have Dr. Rashna Bhandari. She is a biochemist and a cell biologist and heads the laboratory of cell biology at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and graduated with a master's and PhD in biological sciences from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 2001. She trained as a postdoctoral researcher at the Rockefeller University in New York, University of California at Berkeley, and Johns Hopkins School of Medicine at Baltimore University, before taking up her current position as a group leader at CDFT, Hyderabad in 2008. Rashna's research focuses on how small biochemical molecules regulate different biological functions at the cessation of genetic mutations that lead to inherited disorders. Rashna is a fellow of the National Academy of Sciences India and the Indian Academy of Sciences and serves on national and international academic committees. Bhattacharjee, he is a Senior Vice President, PCG, Kotak Securities. He is a bespoke wealth professional with almost 2 decades of experience managing and advising clients on their investment strategy. He has successfully advised and managed large family offices, UHNI clients on both India and overseas strategy. He is a single contributor and at the same time manages a team for an entire region focusing on the PLN strategy with absolute focus on revenue generation across multiple wealth solutions. Lastly, we have Dr. Maunendra. He's an associate professor in the Computer Science and Engineering Department at IIT Hyderabad. He is also associated with the Department of AI at IIT Hyderabad as an affiliated faculty member. His main research areas are natural language processing, information retrieval and machine learning. He is part of the Natural Language and Information Processing Research Group at the Department of CSE IIT Hyderabad. He has many publications in reputed conferences and journals. He also works with government, industries as well as NGOs on various projects of real-world significance. Prior to joining IIT Hyderabad, he has worked of Samsung Research India Bangalore and Sybase in the past.
I have a very exciting panel because all of them, irrespective of the different industry they're coming from, are strong leaders and have a huge experience in leadership itself. So be it academics, be it industry, be it science, core science. So there's so much to learn from all of you here. And I hope that for the panelists, we hope that your answers and your insights helps our students not just to know what are these qualities they need, but also what do they do today to become a leader like you and a future leader of the country itself. So the introductory question I want to start with is, leadership is often viewed as a skill that can be developed, but the first step is recognizing your own potential. And to start, could each of you take a moment and share from your life or your career, when did you realize that you had that potential? Was there a moment which made you think about, yes, this is when I got to know that I can be a leader? And so what was that moment? So ma'am, do you want to start us off?
In school I used to do a lot of stage plays, so that helped me project my voice. I don't think there's a eureka moment, oh, I can be a leader. I think it comes slowly, right? If you volunteer to lead a team activity in school, like I was cultural secretary in 12th standard, it's okay if you had board exam, you could still do other things. So in 12th standard, I organized a mela in school. You know, in college, we would organize fests. So then you participate or you take the small lead, you make team decisions. I don't think it's the way many of you stepped up and said, okay, I represent the team, you're already starting to be leaders, right? It's not a suddenly you decide. It's a progress.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wants to add on to what ma'am said?
So like many things in life, when you are at that stage, possibly you don't know that it is that eureka moment or it is a change of path or whatever it is. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. We cannot connect the dots looking forward. So like she said that there is no eureka moment. So maybe for us also, at what stage did we transition from an individual contributor to a manager or to a leader? We are only able to talk today, reflecting in our career journey of the past. At that moment, it was just a continuing phase that, okay, you are just moving from one phase of your career to another phase, and it was just a smooth transition. Now, how does a smooth transition happen? Sometimes you are in a situation which is crisis. You can look at that crisis as an opportunity or a challenge. Now it's up to you what you choose. Some people cry, oh, I am stuck in this problem and operate with a victim mentality. Some people choose to stand up at that situation and try to see how they can be more solution oriented, how they can contribute to make a difference at that stage. And that actually shapes your career and that actually changes the complete trajectory on which you are operating. So like if I look at my career, like maybe it was around 15-17 years back when I was working for IBM. At that time, that was my first job where I had moved from an Indian company to an MNC. So the culture itself was very different between the two setups. You will possibly realize as you get into your working career that an Indian company operates very differently from a multinational company. And as I was into that role for around 4-5 months, my peer manager suddenly had some heart ailment because of which he had to undergo a surgery. And now between the two managers and a member of 30-member team, suddenly one person manager is not there. So either I had a choice to kind of again get into that victim mentality that no, I can't handle the situation, go back to my manager and start telling him that no, I need some kind of a support from you, or step up, own the responsibility of the team also, which was not possibly part of my responsibility, and start ensuring that work doesn't get impacted, so that from a over global setup point of view, there is no problem. So alongside, of course, but while I was doing that, it was not that came naturally to me. So I started to seek feedback from my manager, from my team in terms of how things are progressing and how things are being managed. One of the most important thing which even I was told Vishnupriya when I met her, I told her about a speech here, that communication is the most essential thing that you have to develop as a leader. Because leadership is all about people and people. How you communicate with people, and like ma'am said about empathy, that how we are able to deal with people with empathy, etc., will play a very critical role in not just you considering yourself a leader, but also people acknowledging you as a leader. Because gone are the days when IQ was the most important thing. All of you sitting here are already successful in your respective spheres because you represent a particular college or university where you have got the admission because of your IQ. But what will take you forward in life is mainly EQ and attitude. IQ will be a leveling factor. Once you come out of a respective institute, everybody has an IQ. But what will differentiate is the EQ aspect and your attitude towards whatever you do.
Thank you for choosing this day for this summit. So today is the birthday of visionary Swami Vivekananda. I think many of you know that. And he said there were quite a few famous quotes by him. And one of the things that he said was that arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Right? And then he also said that I haven't born to grow big by mimicking others. Now these two things I feel are very important from a leadership perspective. So when I hear the word leader, another word automatically comes to my mind, which is follower, and which means that there's some kind of hierarchy that we are talking about. Somehow I do not believe that much in that hierarchy. So when you are a part of a team and you are so-called leader of a team, you need to grow together, move together, progress together. Now this realization has developed over time. Again, as it was told earlier also, there is no specific trigger where one realizes that, okay, now I can be a leader. But it's a continuous process. There can be certain points which can be eye-opener to you. But it's not a specific trigger moment that says that, okay, it happens. So for me, I got opportunity to do PhD at IIT Kharagpur, one of the best institutes in the country. And that 5 years of PhD allowed me sufficient time to actually work on problems which are futuristic, and at the same time not to rush, but try out different things, fail, stand up, try again, and in that process, get connected with various other people, convey your ideas. In many cases, it was not a single member who was working on a problem, there were several others who were also responsible, and how to work with them. So when I was in PhD, so I worked with other MTech students, other BTech students, and just due to the fact that I'm working on that for a slightly longer period of time, possibly I have seen things a little more. And when I'm communicating my ideas with them, when I'm taking their answers, their opinions, so somehow all these things coming together and identifying a solution which will work in the longer run that people will also possibly appreciate. That part where we are all working together for a single problem, we are moving together, gave me some insights about how to work with people. And I think this is a very important point that I still realize and I still cherish, that okay, working in a group, not being a leader, but sometimes it can be the role of a mentor, sometimes it can be a supporter, and sometimes it can be some solution provider. So together all these things should come hand in hand for the entire group to succeed.
I think one point that is very relevant in today's world is the perspective thinking. Put yourself into the problem situations, not thinking that I am a leader, but be in this situation will always help. As a business that we run in every aspect of our life, the student panel also had said the same thing. I believe being empathetic makes life much easier. A leader cannot be dominating just by words. It's the action that makes lots and lots of impact on the team members. Whenever we go and talk to people, because I manage wealth for certain individuals, I always try to find a problem statements in when we discuss. Everybody has a problem in their life. So there's no harm in discussing that problem. Maybe you want to discuss it discreetly or an open forum, talk to the experts, but hiding away from problems doesn't solve the problem. So as a leader, it is very important that when we identify a problem, we talk it out. Communication is the most important thing that I feel is important to make a team being productive, a leader being recognized. And in today's world, informations are flowing in every sectors of our life, but don't get distracted. Follow your heart. Principles should be very simple. You will have distractions at different points of life, but whatever we have learned is that being simple makes life easier, and as a leader, it is very important that we grow with the team.
Thank you, Mr. So about leadership, all of you said it's a journey. It's not a single unique moment which will define it. And I just to add on to what Mr. Ballav said, that it's a choice that you make, and it reminded me of a lot of you might have seen Harry Potter, right? So there is a quote which Dumbledore tells Harry that it is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. So when we talk about leadership, it's not a single moment, but each time we make a choice to do something a little more than maybe what is required, stand up to what we believe in, each of those moments become our moment of leadership. And I think with that I would enter into the next part of, the next question actually. We started talking about leadership traits. I heard empathy, I had communication, I had EQ, working with people. But what we understand is that there are certain leadership traits which are general, like any leader should have it. But there can be few traits which become very specific to the industry you are in, or a trait which might have more importance in your industry and would be needed in a day-to-day life. So I would again want to start maybe in the same order. So we'll begin with Dr. Rashna. In your industry, of the many leadership traits which are there, what do you think is a trait which you have to hold on every single day?
Thanks, Harini. That's a really nice question. So I also want to add that Dumbledore told Harry that help will always come to those who seek it, and then he clarified to those who deserve it. So all of you have experienced that, right? You've all been helped, but you all deserve it. So I think that's a round for self-applause. And where Professor Maunendra is, right? We are in academia. Academia is very different from the rest of the world. We live in little bubbles. It is true. We also try to get out of the bubble like I am here today, because it's really important that we don't live in ivory towers and don't know what's going on around us, because it's so easy to get lost in the comfort of academia, right? In academia, of course, what I do is I lead a research team. My team is on average 10 to 15 people. And each of them comes from different backgrounds, such as yourselves. But all of them are working towards one common goal, which is usually towards getting a PhD degree. And we all, we have a theme we work around. So for us, the most important leadership trait is mentorship. We've got to help each of these individuals in the team reach their full potentials. Now a PhD, at least in the life sciences, can take about 6 to 7 years, right? When they enter our team, they are fresh master's graduates, usually 22, 23, 24 years old, right? And they, like everyone else, their counterparts have started in companies, let's say biotech companies. And our PhD scholars receive a fellowship, which is very nice when they start off, 40,000 or something a month, which is nice, fresh out of a master's. But after 7 years, they are still getting the same amount, whereas their peers have moved on. So one of the things they experience is a lot of frustration. Again, in research, things do not go the way you plan. Input is not equal to output. That is one of the golden rules of research. You can work really hard, you can work really smart, but you may not make progress. So keeping all this in mind, we've got people coming from different backgrounds, trying to do something where nobody has ever tried something before, otherwise it's not research, and they may be very frustrated because they do not progress. Keeping all that in mind is what a mentor, a leader of the team has to keep track of. So for me, the mentorship style I have developed is one size does not fit all. Right? The same rules don't apply to everyone, because each of them is having a different background and a different experience. So what I try to do is identify the strengths and weaknesses in each of my mentees. Help them realize those strengths and weaknesses. Now you've got to have a certain threshold, a certain level of skills that you have to develop in academia. And one of them is being able to stand up in front of an audience. It may be 20, it may be 100, it may be 500 people, and speak and explain your work to the others. They don't know what you're doing, they don't understand what you're doing, right? So one of the things I have to help people is with speaking skills, presenting skills, confidence building, right? But as I said, they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. You help them realize that, you help them address that, and then I have to help them each become best versions of themselves, and then help them figure out how to move on. So that's really key as a mentor, and I think it takes a lot of time, effort and patience to develop that, and a sensibility that it's okay, you've got to be patient, you've got to let people fail, and then they can learn. And deliverables are there, but luckily in academia, those deliverables and timelines can be flexible. So that helps.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Let's actually move to industry. So, would you want to share yours?
So being in finance, first and foremost, leadership or a trait that we have to demonstrate is that some of the things are non-negotiable. Ethics, values, principles are non-negotiable for us because we are the custodian for the organization, and that is something that we have to live by, because that is why we exist in the organization, otherwise we are not required. But having said that, one of the most important leadership trait which I believe in, and that may not be specific to my industry, but as a leader, is being decisive. Decisiveness is a very important thing, because many a times we think that we are not taking a decision, but not taking a decision is also taking a decision of not taking a decision. So it's not that just because you are ignoring the problem or you are not taking a decision, its problem is kind of delayed. It's that you have made a choice of not taking a decision instead of taking a decision. So that is a very important thing, because many a times we have seen leaders who have reached a certain level, but they are hesitant to take decision, and that can significantly impact not just their own performance, but the performance of the organization, performance of their team, etc., which can be quite a disastrous situation, for lack of better word. This is something this is not a skill that you need to be born with. Like many times people say leaders are born, not necessarily. Leadership can be developed. So this is also one of those skills which you can easily develop. What you have to basically do to develop this is, of course, develop your knowledge, leverage data. Data is available in abundance. How you have a mindset to utilize that data is very important, because two set of people can see the same set of data very differently. So how you are able to develop a knack to understand the data and find out relevance from that data is very important. One of the most important things is each of us in our own career want to be perfect. But sometimes while you want to take a decision, you have to learn to accept imperfection also. Because sometimes decision is time bound. So in that time bound kind of situation, you have to compromise on something to get something out of the door. So maybe you have only limited amount of information, but within that limited amount of information and ambiguity, still you have to take a chance, go by your gut intuition and take a decision. Like ma'am said, that you may fail, but the important thing is fail fast and fall forward. So that by doing that, at least you are not delaying the time, but alongside you are also learning something in the journey, so that you are able to leverage that, or at least have a better experience out of the situation.
Thank you. In your industry, what is a leadership trait? Day in and day out, you need to use.
See, I belong to an industry which is highly regulated from the regulator point of view, because I'm from the finance, so SEBI, IRDA, RBI, so on and so forth. But one thing over the last 2.5 decades, what I've understood is being flexible. Because in every field we see that there is changes happening. But since we manage people's money, we cannot have a strict framework, which I have learned in my B school and I will follow for the next 15-20 years. Because what I learned today may be an obsolete for the next 5 years' time. And when you are adapting a change, you have to be flexible in your mindset. Because as ma'am once said that one size doesn't fit all. So how adaptive you are to those changing environments makes you a very successful. So whenever you are in a team, people comes up with different ideas, but sometimes you have to be a little blunt in saying no. It's very easy to say and be a good man in the team, but if you know the right way to say no, then we see success much faster. Because if it's not right, it's not right. There's no way you can make it right by saying good words. So it's better to accept understand, deliberate, discuss. So in my scheme of things, I always felt that being on the edge is important. You cannot relax because you are extremely in a zone which is highly competitive, especially in my field when I'm into sales. It's all running against time because every other day the new players are coming in, be it from the technical sides, tech sides, be it human intelligence, AI is coming. But one thing that we have realized that you can only be relevant in front of your clients if you learn and upgrade your skill sets. There is absolutely no second thought about knowledge is the new currency. We always felt that people who constantly upgrade in whichever field you are working, if you don't work on your skill sets, you will be obsolete very, very soon. So my humble request to all of you, and which I follow, is being adaptive, being flexible, and be on the edge.
Thank you, Mr. Arnab. Knowledge is the new currency. That's a very all of our scholars to remember. With that, Professor Mundra, do you want to share a few thoughts on being a professor? What is a leadership trait day in and day out? I hope there's something different than patience, because I'm sure as a teacher, patience would be very needed for you day in and day out.
So two major things, not one, passion and compassion. So passion, because whatever we are doing, if we are not really passionate about it, then no matter what I do, I'll not be able to motivate and I'll not be able to take others who are surrounding me with me. So passion is very much important, and with passion, I think all the many other things will fall with it, like decision making, and also analyzing the situation and identifying what I should do, decision making again, and how to upgrade myself. That also depends on the passion. If I'm not passionate, I'll just get stagnated. Then the other part is compassion, and fortunately, being in academia, we don't have to think about the business problems all the time. We can think of the societal problems. So when we talk about leaders, leaders can be at different stages or different parts of this global community. One can be a leader in the societal aspect. One can be a leader in the technological aspects. One can be leader in, say, business, medical, and various other areas. But in all these areas, we essentially deal with people. Now, when we deal with people, it again comes at multiple layers. The individuals can be in a team who are working on some problem with us, or they can be the target audience who will be the beneficiaries of whatever we do. And in all the cases, it is important that we think about the complete spectrum with whom we are working on. So if we think about a society, so there are people who are from different income backgrounds, the same thing, the economic background, different societal background. So I was fortunate to work on a project with an NGO, and it's a nice thing that Kotak was again involved in that project. It was with an NGO called Youth for Jobs that works in the disability space. So the idea is that people who have certain kind of disability, there are many obstacles that they have to go through, economic as well as societal. So how can we make sure that we make the things better for them? Upskilling, bringing them to a platform, making them interact with each other, and various other things were suggested. I was fortunate to be a part of that project. So, it's not only about the creamy layer that we are talking about, but people who are backward, are we compassionate about them? So, if the entire country or entire globe focuses on a specific subset of the people, only that part will get progressed. But we need to again move together, rise together. So compassion at that entire spectrum of who are going to be the recipient of whatever you do, and at the same time, as we spoke earlier also in the different group discussions also it came up, when you are part of a team, how do you make sure that everybody is important, how the failures are handled, and how do you make sure that everybody is able to speak up, voice their concerns, and together we can do better. So again, coming back, passion and compassion.
Thank you, Professor. Compassion and leadership. Not not the most famous trait you will hear people share about, but I'm very happy that you put it out there, Professor. Majorly because our scholars also are constantly not just thinking about themselves, but they also mentor the junior scholars who are there. So they are already giving back. They are trying to be compassionate to the new set of students and scholars who are entering our program itself. And that is something we try to instill in each of our scholars. So all of these people here are going to start their career. It's going to be the first time they will have a manager, they will have peers, and some of them may start at a role where they do have someone who directly works with them and they have to keep them accountable. When you think back, and like Mr. Ballav said, dots connect in retrospect. When you think back to the days you started your career, but put it in the current context of the world, is there a single piece of advice or a recommendation you would have for our scholars? They have a long, long journey to go, but where do they begin? Yes, Dr. Rashna.
So, how many of you know Baba Ranchor Das?
Raise your hands.
Rancho क्या advice सुना आपने? Or is this movie too old now?
Have you all seen 3 Idiots?
देखा है ना 3 Idiots, right? So what Rancho said is success के पीछे मत भागो, काबिल बनो. I think if you use that as a yardstick, काबिल बनो, success झक मार के तुम्हारा पीछा करेगी, right? At each stage, just strive to be the best version of yourselves, right? Whatever you think of as success will come. So that is my advice, and I really apply it, and I encourage all of you to embrace that. Just try to be the best. Take on new things as they come to you. Volunteer for things as they appear. Participate in team tasks. Make decisions as you go along for yourselves and collective decisions along with the team and sometimes for the team. And that will be your path towards leadership.
I think one important that I have always doing it is learning from others. Be very open. It really helps. Sometimes in our own stretch of minds, we only try to see what I am doing it and ignoring other people. So please be open, learn from others. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I am learning a lot of things sitting here today. And I believe I will go back home better later than what I was yesterday. Thank you.
Try to be an expert generalist, which is in many education or in training they will call it T-shaped learning. That try to be an expert that is vertical, but alongside have the horizontal of T, because the world order is changing very fast. Like Arnab mentioned, that what was relevant yesterday is not relevant today. What is relevant today may not be relevant tomorrow. So actually we don't know what will be relevant tomorrow. But as long as you are having this T-shaped expert generalist approach, you will be better prepared to handle the tomorrow as it comes. Because you will be exposed to different things, you will automatically would have developed different skill set, which will come in handy to face the pressure of the future through your learning curiosity.
Yeah, very much valid points put forward by everybody. I really liked what Dr. Rashna said about success, and I want to back it up with failure. So, so nobody can be successful throughout. There will be moments of failure. So don't let failures fail you. So learn from your mistakes, be strong inside, and move forward. Take the learnings from the failures. So this is one trait that we hope everyone would have, not only for the leadership, but for everyone. But once you are in a position and you are able to learn from failures, people surrounding you will also notice that, and hopefully it will just percolate like that. So,
Thank you. I think we are towards the end of the panel itself, and one of the concepts which we usually talk about in leadership development journeys is self-leadership, and I want to leave that as a thought. Today we have heard from our panelists many practical actions which you can do, how to say no, how to give feedback, and also quite a few abstract ideas as well, right? So what does an emotional quotient look like? What does empathy feel like in leadership? How does compassion play out along with accountability when you're leading a team? And I hope that this panel was helpful for all of you to bring in both abstract leadership ideas along with a few practical actions which you can take, and in the reflection activity you will do right after this, you will have time to write it down. I just want to end with, again, something that Swami Vivekananda had said, that believe in yourself and the world will be at your feet. With that, thank you so much for being an engaging audience, and thank you panelists for being here today, for taking our time for our scholars.